Welcome to the Next Gen Podcast. Stepping up to the microphone are your hosts, Bryson Wright and Alex Winton. They got next, so let's get to the show.
Hello and welcome back to the Next Gen Podcast here on the Bluff City Media Podcast Network. As always, I'm your host, Bryson Wright, and I'm joined by my co-host, Alex Winton. And good to be back talking Grizzlies, getting to this next part of the season, the offseason, which in the NBA it really doesn't feel like there's an offseason because of how much happens during the offseason. And obviously, we're still going to be talking about the NBA playoffs, even though it is the offseason for the Grizzlies now. The first thing that we're going to get to today is kind of talking about like the exit interviews, some offseason expectations, and then we're going to go into like some more deeper NBA news, NBA playoffs, what our thoughts on those series and stuff have been so far. But before that, I want to welcome back Alex. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm chilling. I'm okay. Obviously, it's been a little bit. I don't want to say a little break, but you know, little week or two. Let things settle in and all that. So yeah, no, we got a lot to talk. Well, yeah, still got a lot to talk about because not only exit interviews happen, some other stuff happened, Grizzlies related. So I'm ready to get into it for real. So yeah.
Yeah, nah, and obviously the season as a whole didn't go the way that a lot of people were hoping and everything like that. And that was definitely the vibe that you got from the exit interviews. But I feel like everybody still overall had the same kind of mindset of, even though it was bad this year, they can still do a lot of stuff to set up for next season. I like, Zach Kleiman really just coming out and saying the first things first is we know the Grizzlies got to get another big. And he said, I'm not hiding that. He said, I'm not hiding it. It's like, I'm not burying the lead. They're going to have to get a big man, whether that's the draft, whether it's free agency. They're going to figure that out. And I really think that, between him saying that and Brandon Clark saying that, I think going into this whole draft lottery is in like 2 weeks and getting into the draft stuff and, what they could possibly do. I think that's going to be the number one thing on my list of like offseason expectations is like they got to get another big. And, Brandon Clark said it. Coach Jenkins said it. Even Jaren said, they need depth, whether it's a traditional or non-traditional center. So I think the main thing that I can say from the exit interviews on that front and on the other fronts, and I think they are on the same page and on the page they need to be on, just like from top to bottom.
No question. I think the thing is, it's been a best kept secret, kind of basically. Like I think I said it before here a while ago. You don't just gut your whole center spot, literally trade deadline. Like they got rid of Adams and Tillman and basically said, hey, Jaren, you're gonna be the 5, and then Santi, and then Trey Jemison. Like they didn't do that just to not get it big. I feel like that was just like the best kept secret, or not best kept secret, but like most obvious things. Like, oh yeah, they're probably gonna add it big, because I know you got Jenkins and everybody, but like you said, they're on the same page. People are asking them like, is Jaren gonna play the 5 more? Like, are you gonna get a big that's gonna play alongside Jaren more so, or is it gonna be more so for spot minutes? Like, and again, they said basically they're gonna figure it out and all that, but they're going to add a big in some capacity. Zach Kleiman said it. Now, again, I will say, even though they're going to add a big, you still have to add the right big, at least to me, because I think if they would be kind of, I won't say futile, like, or it wouldn't be a mistake, but like they shouldn't just get any big. It shouldn't be just any big. Yeah. It shouldn't be like, oh, we can get like, I don't know, like a name, like one of those like vet men guys and be like, oh, cool. Like how we said, oh, get Bismack Biyombo, we good. Like it can't be that, but it needs to be somebody else.
Hey, just sign DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah,
like
no.
Like something like that. Yeah, nah. Yeah, I'm with you.
Like not DeAndre Jordan, not Cody Zeller. Like we don't need those names. Like not that. Like it's got to be somebody that's either like to me like a starter or like has a chance to start. Like, and again, like you said, draft lottery, obviously the name that everybody brings up is like Klingon and all them other guys, the bigs that are in there, SAR. But like, anyway, they're going to add a big. Personally, I think they need to add 2, possibly, potentially, but definitely they're going to add 1. So, obviously that's the biggest thing that everybody says. Like, even if you look at like Grizz, like people that don't follow the Grizz, like, they follow the Grizz, but like national media, they'd be like, oh, they need to get the center. Like everybody knows it. So that's really like the biggest takeaway. It's like, okay, they're going to add a center. That's going to be their main focus, at least.
Oh yeah, 100%. And then like you also had going with like Ja's stuff. I liked a lot of the stuff he said. He tried not to get like too far ahead of himself. Like he even had somebody ask him, what are you going to be working on this and that? And he was just like, dude, I'm just working on getting healthy first and foremost.
Right.
And I'm like, that's where your mindset needs to be. Because at the end of the day, it don't matter how many shots you put up over the summer if you're not 100%, right? Zach Kleiman said Ja is on track and everything like that. He wasn't in a sling in the exit interviews. They've been posting some videos of him from, out with his AAU team, which his AAU team's been doing pretty good and everything. And, not in a sling. Obviously, he's not, doing 360 dunks or anything either. But, looks like he's progressing well. Zach Kleiman said he's progressing well. He's on track. Hopefully, he'll be able to do more basketball stuff by June. But that was the main thing, like from the Ja stuff is he looks like he's 100%. He looks like he's ready to put like this past year, just a crazy year, just in general for him.
Crazy is understandable.
Going from like all the off the court stuff to the suspension to the coming back and getting hurt. It's just like a lot of stuff going on. I think it's good for him to just focus on getting healthy. And then the stuff he's been doing with the AAU team, I don't know if anybody's been looking at that. He talked a little bit about that. He said that's brought like a new level of joy to his life too, being able to coach the kids. He's got like a boys team and a girls team. And hey, based on the stuff that he's been retweeting, they beating teams by 30, 40 points.
Yeah, they cold. I think they won the championship today. If I'm not mistaken,
Derrick Rose's son, PJ. PJ Rose hit the game winner for them to win their championship. So, like, I think that's good, staying around the game of basketball in a different way, even though he can't play. I think that's really going to be important. And then he talked about staying around the team and, really getting to be a part of the team, even though he was still hurt, was really good for him too.
Yeah, and the biggest thing he said is he's going to spend a lot of time in Memphis. Like he said, he's outside of rehabbing or like outside of like going out for AAU teams, like and maybe like an occasional trip here or there. I think he's going to be in Memphis. So I think that's a big thing that's really important, obviously. And I think we'll talk about Jaren and Bane too, but I think Jaren said it too. Like a lot of them are here and they're working out. Like, and so, but really, yeah, that's the main thing I can take away from Ja's exit interviews. Like he's just focused on like getting back. Like you said, he's not going to rush it or anything, but like his main focus is to literally just be cleared. Like that was the biggest thing he was talking about, like attacking rehab at a high level. And, basically like he felt like, like he even said it, like he feels like this team can win a championship. Honestly, I think he said honestly healthy, God willing, basically. Obviously you need that luck a part of it. But yeah, he was saying like, he feels still, good about where he's at and all this. And, just basically he's feeling motivated after the injury. Cause obviously, for him to go down or play 9 games and be right back out, obviously is a different scenario that he's ever been in. Because his first real injury that kept him out for like a while. Like obviously we had that with like Jaren before, and I mean I guess you could say Bane last year, but for the most part, like this is his first real significant like injury. So, but I mean I think he'll be fine. Like I said, I think obviously the biggest thing is obviously we know with the like we're talking about the past year's been crazy, like low key understatement, but like the biggest thing is you don't really see Ja right now, which is great. Like I mean you see him, but you don't see him like. Which is great. Out of sight, out of mind, basically. And I think that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing necessarily. You only see it. Only time I see Ja is if he's on social media at the games, maybe an occasional Instagram post here or two. That's about it. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is great. You know what I mean? He's out of the way, which is the best way to be. So, yeah, no, I mean, I expect Ja to be cool. Like, I think, honestly, to your other point, too, about him being out the sling, I think he's been out the sling for like a couple months now, even like when we're still playing games. So, I know people are pointing out now, but he's been out the sling. So the real big thing for me next time is like seeing him like on court, like which I don't know when that'll be. I don't know the whole timeline of the injury, but whenever we see him on court, that's when we know like it's time to go. Which is I hope it's sooner than later, but obviously they're in no rush. Like he's gonna have a whole offseason. So, but I mean, it is good to see that that's his focus. Getting back as soon as possible because again. He's the franchise. We know this. Everybody know this. It's not rocket science. So he just got to get back healthy for this team to be great. Because again, I expect a big season from him next year. Like I really don't have many doubts about it. Because I want to say this real quick. He's gonna remind people who he is. I've seen a lot. We're gonna talk about playoffs later, but I'm seeing these playoffs just continue to confirm he's still one of them guys. So, I want to see him back as soon as possible.
I mean, yeah, obviously, and I think part of that, like when you see what's going on in the playoffs now and compare and draw to other players, is that not everybody has had that instant playoff success or like individually, not necessarily team success. The
Correct.
Grizzlies have not made a deep playoff run necessarily. They only made to the second round that one year, obviously. But even if, the first time he made it to the playoffs, he had to go on the road to Golden State in a winner-go-home game against Steph Curry to get there. He had the most points, or 47 in his first playoff game or second playoff game, whatever it was. And it's just like, you look at all this, the big game he had against the Warriors, and it's like you've seen him continuously step up in those moments. The game winner against the Timberwolves in Game 5, like you can go back and see those moments. And I think that's kind of what does separate him from some of the other players that are the same age as him. But there are some other there are some players that I think this season are starting to solidify themselves as that, with their own performance.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's been my whole thing. Has always been like, anybody you want to hype up to be like that level, like Anthony Edwards, you want to hype Anthony Edwards up to that level, especially the way he's been playing against the Suns and stuff, the way he's been playing all season. Okay. He's proven it in the playoffs. Like that's the kind of stuff that I look at. But I do agree. I think that if he comes back healthy, the Grizzlies are going to have a chance. I mean, the West is going to be loaded again next year. No question. The West is going to be even crazy.
We're going to have 12 teams trying to make the playoffs. Something like
that. Yeah. I mean, there will be 12 teams probably going into the season. And then you have another team, which I don't know if you're counting the Spurs in that, but you got 12 teams in the team to win Benyama.
Yeah, so, I'm not expecting them to make it, but it wouldn't shock me if they're gonna be if Wemby's that good where they're okay, we're kind of play in ish type of range, like back in a play in 10.
Yeah, and I mean, and there's a lot of stuff that can change between now and then. But the main thing still is Josh said it, Jaren said it. Is if they're all healthy, I mean, the goal is for them to win the championship. And they believe that if they're healthy, they can win a championship. I believe that if they're healthy, they can. There's going to have to be other stuff happening around. And obviously, Zach, everybody, and that was the main thing. There's going to have to be other stuff to happen, obviously. I think roster construction-wise, I'm not saying they roll out the same team that they've had and they just going to win it.
Please. Listen, they roll out the same team. I need to talk to some people. I need to talk to Zach. I need to get his number, something. I need to talk to him because we're gonna have some problems. I can't see the same rock. We'll save it for somewhere else, but I better not see the same roster. We're gonna have some problems. Boy, I don't even want to talk about it. But go ahead.
But yeah, and then kind of getting to talking about Vince and Gigi. I thought that their interviews really were two of my favorites. Really, Gigi's just getting to hear his perspective and talking about everything that he's learned this year and going he was 18 when the season started. Talked about all the little viral clips he had and getting to play against Steph and KD and all these people. Talked about how the first time he met D Rose, he called him sir because he's Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose been in the league since Gigi Jackson was in kindergarten. So he called him, so he's hey, nah, that's your teammate, and all that little stuff. I thought that was really cool, and I'm excited to see the way that kid's career goes out. The biggest thing that we learned about Gigi basketball wise is that he is playing summer league, which we already knew that, but it was just completely confirmed. He should be the number one player on the summer league team, basically, and get most of the reps. And hey, I'm expecting him to cook in the summer league after the way he was playing because, I mean, if you look at the way that the Grizzlies roster was set up, he's basically been playing with a summer league team against NBA teams. And now he's going to be playing summer league team against other summer league teams. So it should be easier for him, I think. Especially and I think going back that second year, I'm not gonna say it's gonna be the same as like when Bane went back that second
Yeah,
year,
I was thinking the same thing.
but
Yeah.
it's gonna be similar. I think you're gonna see him. He's just gonna be at like a different level than he was last year.
Yeah, he should only play like the goal for him should be like Keegan Murray last year, or Keegan Murray only played like 1 or 2 games because he's so good. And then it was like, okay, we seen enough. Like that's literally the goal. He should only he should only in theory play 2 games. Like for real, only should play 2 games. Like
I'll
that's
say
how
3.
good.
I don't know about 2. 2? He's still 19. That's the only thing. He's still 19.
Oh yeah, no. I'm
He
not
got
saying because yeah, he can play 3, but you know how the Grizzlies are. They might see 2 and be like, all right, that's enough. Like they might see because I forgot. I'd have to go back and look because I don't have the numbers obviously from me, but I remember Bane playing at least at 2 or like at least like 3. I think I remember him playing like 3 or 4, maybe 4, but I think it was 3. When he
I think it will. I think it's gonna be a little different than when Bane did it, just because Bane was already 22.
Yeah,
like
that is true.
that's gonna be the main difference to me. If GG had played 2 years in college and was like the regular age, I'd say maybe lean that way a little bit more. But I feel like I think for them, he just needs reps. Like they just want as many reps as he can get.
That's true. That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. The thing about GG though is I mean, we talked about it, like the starting agenda. You know how people have already talked about the starting agenda. Like, I mean, it's not. Well, really, not just GG, but Vince too. People talked about both of them starting. But like the thing is, that's why I say it is just like if he's as good. I mean, obviously, I'm not ruling it out, but like if he's gonna continue to grow like this, he looks the part. That's why I was saying that just the 2 games, just because they're like, okay, we won't be cautious. We know that he's like way better than all these guys. But like you said, they might be like, okay, he needs the rep. So we'll see how it goes. But like, I expect Gigi to hoop. Like, I'm not like I don't really have many questions about Gigi Jackson as a player. Like his floor, I feel comfortable with. But now it's just like, how good can he get? Honestly, and like you said, with his exit interviews, I felt like you could tell like this is a guy that understands where he's at, understand where he's going to be, like his role next year. Like he said, he's not going to get the most of the shots because John Jr. and Vayner back. He talking about like he wants to, he got I think relationship with Chris Middleton now, and Anthony Carter talking about like he wants Gigi to guard the best player. So like they got a plan for him to be the guy. Like obviously it might not happen next year. Now for me, I wouldn't wait, but again, sooner or later, he's going to be the guy that probably, they're going to prioritize him sooner or later. Like even everybody's saying it. Even Raven Knight said it. Mike Wallace even said it, that he should be in the conversation for starting. Like if his play matches up, like I think Zach Kleiman gave like he gave an answer on GG. It wasn't a bad answer, but it was more so of a generic answer. Like it's going to be on GG what he can handle going into next year. And for me, it's like that just tells you if he's ready for 25, 30 minutes a night, he'll be ready for it. Is he ready for more like 20 minutes? Like it's going to be on him. So I expect him to work. I'm not really worried about him. I loved his exit interviews. It's probably my favorite exit interview outside of Derrick Rose's exit interview. Those are probably my 2 favorite ones. But yeah, like he was talking about a lot of good stuff. And again, if he becomes really good, like he just got the personality to be like a real star. So, I mess with GG. And then again, like he's such a kid. That's why the funny thing about it. I hope he doesn't lose that. He says a lot of stuff like just because like he's talking to just one of the guys. When sometimes you can't talk like that. But yeah, no. Shout out to GG, man. I'm ready to see what he does this summer.
And put GG on at least second team all rookie, man. I don't care about games played.
Yeah, please.
I don't care. Games played, there's a reason why they didn't put games played as a requirement for the rookie team, right? You can't tell me if you're putting the 10 best rookies from this season, you cannot name 10 rookies better than GG Jackson, right? Like we know Wimby's going to be on.
From a stat perspective, because that's what they should go.
Like straight up, like you're not going to. Obviously, like Wimby, Chet, Brandon Miller, like those guys are going to be first team. Like a guy like Casey Wallace or somebody's probably going to be somewhere in there. Like that, like there's guys that might be ahead of him overall just because they did play the whole season. But I think he should at least be on second team. If he's not on second team, I'm gonna be really disappointed.
Listen, you might be disappointed, but I'll say it like this: it's a win-win regardless. He makes second team or he doesn't, and he gets more of a chip on the shoulder, and that's gonna make him work even harder. Listen, I'm here for whatever because listen, if he don't make a rookie team, you understand? He probably gonna be like, oh, I should have made it. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, again, he hasn't said this, obviously, But there's probably been certain matchups, right, that he had this season with players that were in his draft class, and he wanted to outplay those guys. He didn't say it probably, but he probably was trying to outplay them. Like, the Brandon Miller matchup. I mean, you could count it as a matchup, but like he showed up for that matchup. Who's the other one on Washington? Kubai, Bilal Kubai. Like
yeah,
he
Koulibaly.
probably, yeah, Kubali. Yeah, I couldn't say his name right, but that's another one like where I'm pretty sure he probably took that matchup personally. Like, all those wings, those type of players, I'm pretty sure he wants to be better than those guys. Obviously, it's competitive nature. Because again, dude went 45, and again, it wasn't because of talent. Talent-wise, he's a lottery pick. We know this. Everybody knows this. Everybody said this. It's more about the off-court stuff, and even then, that was a lot of false narratives going around because of what we've seen now. But again, he needs to go somewhere with structure. Obviously, this is the best place for him. But yeah, Gigi's gonna be fine, man. I mean, I think he's just gonna have a chip on his shoulder if he doesn't make it, and if he does make it, he's like, okay, that solidifies me. So either way, I think it's a win-win, right? Like I just think it's a win-win regardless. Like that's how I kind of view it. Because like if he doesn't make it, okay, you're just gonna make us even better. Because again, not saying he's gonna be mad or nothing mad, but you know what I mean. A more motivated Gigi is probably gonna be a better Gigi. Like you know what I mean. Like we're gonna see a better player because of it. So you know how it is. Ja got his chip on the shoulder, underdog. Like you know how to be talking, underdog mentality, all that good stuff. So it's all for the greater good. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I think the team as a whole, like as we talk about expectations this offseason going into next season, I think that like Jaron talked about it all the way back when he went on Paul George's podcast of feeling like that Lakers series kind of humbled them a little bit. And then I think this whole season, they talked about this whole season and losing all these games. It's like, nobody likes to lose. It don't matter what level of basketball you're at.
At all.
Yeah.
At all.
And if it's talking about me, like I'm the type of person I don't like to lose in anything. So I understand it. Like I understand it. Nobody wants to lose. And when you go through what they went through this year of losing those games, I think it will give them a chance to kind of step back, reflect, be like, okay, what do we got to do to get back next season? First things first, obviously be in health, because that's the thing. It's hard to control it, but you can do a lot of stuff. You can do a lot of stuff to prevent injuries, more energy prevention, better nutrition, better stretching, yoga, whatever they got to do, right? Do everything you can. Now, not to say that means nobody's ever going to get injured. That's just sports. You can only drink water and eat fruit and work out times a day and stretch. And if you land wrong, you might turn your ankle. Like it happens. But they need to be making sure they're doing everything that they possibly can to where they're like on top of that. And then I think everything else can fall into place. And I'm glad that they all talked about they're going to be staying in Memphis. They're going to be trying to work out together more, trying to get more chemistry, everything like that. But yeah, no. And then obviously, like we said, when the draft lottery hits in 2 weeks, which since we're now moving our show to Mondays, coming out on Mondays, we're going to be recording that Sunday right after the draft lottery. That's going to be the play.
Yeah, that is true. Dang.
So we're gonna be here breaking the news with everybody else, see what pick they get and everything like that. I feel like a true conversation about what the offseason is going to be, I know you've been saying it since like January, basically, is that whatever the pick is, like we're not going to really know what the options are until after the lottery. Because how high the pick is can change a lot of stuff about whether you want to trade back, whether you just want to take the pick, whatever it is. So once we get to that point, we're about 2 weeks away from that. I'm really excited for that. We'll be able to find out a lot more about what they're going to be doing.
Yeah. To go back to your point about Jaren, to just talk about him briefly, like you said, a lot of them said they're staying in Memphis. The funny thing I forgot to mention, he said that him, Jaren, or him, Ja, Bane are like psychos. It was just funny how he said that, but like that's kind of the stuff he I wanted to hear. But like he said, I think he even said it. Like you said, he's confident in the core still, but like they have to take it to another level to win. Like he said, and I've been saying this, right? Like I've been saying it on the show, and I've been saying it to other people. Like my expectations are so high is because of what they said. Like he even said it. He said it's not just enough to win regular season games and be a top 4 seed and just go out in the first round. Like that's just not enough and not acceptable. And that's what I've been saying, because if your aspirations are to be a championship team, like that's where I'm gonna hold the standard to. I'm not saying they got to win a championship next year, but my biggest thing is like you talking about offseason expectations is like for me, it's like they need to get to a point where no question they're a top 4 team, top 3 team. I shouldn't have to worry about them being in the first round. Like we should easily win that first round matchup, regardless of the matchup. We should be that good of a team. In this second round, I should feel like we should be able to win that team. Like I should feel like we should go to conference finals, like not comfortably, but second round to the point where we're 6 or 7 games, or game 6 or game 7, and we're going, we're like 1 or 2 games away from a conference final. Like that's where we should be at. Like that should be the expectation. I think even Josh said it years ago that the floor were there. Now this was like I think after the year they played against Golden State. I can't remember what year it was, but I think it's after that year where he's like the floor for them to have a success or feel like they did something in that season was like conference finals. I know that's very tough to replicate, but we've seen it done, obviously, where a team is either making a conference finals or finals. Like, it's not that crazy. I know it is in the West, just because, like we said, there's a lot of teams in the West. But that's, like, the expectation for me. Like, I should look at the roster and feel like, okay, they should be a top 7, 8 contender in my eyes. Like, even if it's a lower tier, I should feel comfortably say, oh, yeah, I could see them win a championship if all things break right. Like, roster-wise, not because, they got lucky. Obviously, you need a little bit of luck, but my point is the roster should look that point, to that point where I'm like, okay, this is a contending roster. Because even though they won those games back then and they were contending, like per se, a lot of it was inexperienced, but a lot of it to me, like I didn't love the roster makeup in terms of postseason because we know regular season and postseason are different, two different things. So, yeah, I mean, again, I think their expectations are, good because again, if the players are saying it, the GM is saying it, I'm gonna hold you to that standard. So that's why I said you can't just you can't just get any big because if you get any like I said, we can't just get a Bismack Biyombo big because that's not championship level. Like you're gonna have to spend to get a big that makes sense. You're gonna have to move some of these pieces out of here. Like so that's the price to pay if you're really trying to win a championship. So that's my expectation. It's not that I hate this team or like I be hating on them, but they try to sell me on something, so I'm gonna hold them to it. You know what I mean? I'm not.
I'm with you.
Yeah, we're past the phase of like, hey, we're cool winning 50 games. Like, nah, like I need to be able, like I said, look at this team and win. Like we've had the good times. Trust me. Before this year, with the the season with all these injuries, the last 2 years was great. But now, like I said, it's time to take another level. I shouldn't be looking back 5 years from now and be like, man, you remember that 21-22 season? Man, that was a great season. That was the best season. Like, no, that shouldn't be the peak. Not at all. It should not be the peak. I should not be looking back in 5 years and be like, okay, that was the best season. Because that wasn't even close to it. It shouldn't be if they're that good. So, yeah, that's just my take on it. Like, I'm gonna hold them to a high standard. I just need them to lock in and be serious. I think they will. I have some faith, but I just need to see it. I just need to see it play out. That's all.
Yeah, 100%, definitely. I'm with you on all of that. It's one thing to say it, but you got to back it up. Like that's always how it is. You got to back it up with the moves they're gonna make. You got to back it up with the play on the court, everything like that. But yeah, in terms of the offseason expectations, I'm with you. It's building a team that can win the championship next season. That's the goal, 100%. But then to move on to kind of our next topic, some news that came out last week, in this past week, is that Morant will be having a new agency signed.
Yes, sir.
Morant signed with Lift Management, which is, if you didn't know, former Memphis Grizzly Mike Miller runs that. There's a lot of people when they first came out that Ja was getting a new agent, everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, he's gonna go to Clutch." And he's going to
Los Angeles. He's going to Lakers. He's going to Lakers. Oh my God. He's going to Lakers.
All that stuff. He's going to be sitting with Maverick Carter next week. I was like, okay. I think people jumped a little bit. I was never there. Obviously, Ja's under contract. Like, it's not like he's just going to leave next year or something.
Yeah. Like, come on, bro. What are we doing?
And then his agent or the agency that he goes to is owned by a former Grizzly, Mike Miller, who, had 2 stints with the Grizzlies, coached with Penny Hardaway at Memphis for the Tigers and everything. So it's somebody who knows the city and somebody who understands the city. and somebody who I think would be less inclined to be like, you have to get out of there or something. You know what I mean? Like, so because that's how some of those big time agents are. They'll go to somebody like if Giannis is in Milwaukee and be like, I mean, you're big in Milwaukee, but if you were here, here, or here, like I feel like it's going to be less of that. And they also have, you know, I was looking through the other people they have, like, you know, Paolo Banchero's on here, Wendell Carter Jr., also known as Alex Twin. Yeah, Alex
Twin. Yes, sir.
Memphis Grizzly Matthew Hurt. I was surprised because I was just
I forgot about him. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Matthew Hurt is on there. Lester Quinones, former Memphis Tiger. So it's like he's got a lot of Grizzlies and Memphis connections and some other stuff on there. And then Ja definitely being the biggest name that they've signed, and I think that could really be like a big stepping stone. But yeah, like having Ja, having Paolo Banchero and stuff like that, I think that's pretty cool for Mike Miller's agency and everything. But I think it's gonna be a good thing. Hopefully their partnership will work well. Don't know all the details about why he left the other agent, whatever. But I think my main thing is I think people were overreacting when that first happened because the stuff that I saw was like a little crazy. Some of the stuff I saw was a little crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, I just want to start out by saying, yeah, I said clutch because I was one of them, but I wouldn't say it like I was saying it funny, jokingly, but I was also saying like clutch it makes sense because like a lot of the star players go to clutch, and it's not a bad thing. I never, even though I was saying that and I would hope for it to happen, I wasn't saying that thinking, oh, Ja finna leave Memphis. Like, no. Why does everybody think that? It's not an AD situation. If your team is good enough, that AD left because the team wasn't that good. No disrespect, the team wasn't that good. They weren't winning 50 games like the 2 years we had prior to this past year. New Orleans maybe had that once, 1 year, and we did, and that was like during his prime. Ja, Jaren Bane ain't even reached their prime yet, and they had way more success than most of these people. Why would they want to? The only reason they want to leave is if what happened this year or what happened this past season that we just went through, and it happens when they're healthy. But we know that's not going to happen. Like the chances of that are very slim. They'd have to like be terrible or just lose in the first round every year. And I don't think that's going to happen. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, he was never going to leave. Like, Josh even said he wants to stay in Memphis. Like, no, that was never happening. But, again, I will say when that first news came out about him signing with Mike Miller, it made all the sense in the world. Like, I was like, okay. Because I remember seeing a tweet where somebody was like, how did, Mike Miller get Ja Morant? And I'm just like, it makes sense, like you said. Like, dude played for Memphis, the Grizzlies twice. He's been in the city. He knows the city. He's still close with people that are on the team or, he knows people on the team. Like, he knows Penny. Not only that, he knows LeBron. Like, he has connections. And then, like you said, like, you look at his client list, you got Paolo, you got Wendell. Like, he has other guys in not small markets, but, like, younger stars. Like, he's, like, it made a lot of sense. But especially the Memphis connection, like, for somebody that played for the same franchise, has been in the same city, he knows how it is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and he understands like Ja's probably their biggest client or their biggest name, which I think, again, that's a big part of it too, for them. Like, it's going to be interesting to see because he's probably going to be their biggest thing, part of the agency. But even then, like, just all that comfortability, like, that you have already, and that I think made a difference. Whereas with Clutch, like, obviously, yeah, he knows LeBron and he knows Maverick Carter and all them, but like, it's not the same. Like, it's different when you got a guy that's played in the league, give you advice versus, no disrespect to Maverick Carter, Rich Paul, they're great agents, but like, it probably played a factor. So yeah, I'm glad that he signed with Mike Miller. Again, now we ain't got to worry about those. Oh, he's going to LA or he's going to New York. Like, no, he's not going nowhere, bro. Like, what are we talking about, man? Them jokes are always funny, man. I think people got a lot of small market PTSD. Like, you see all these other teams.
That is so true. That is so
small
true.
Market PTSD, bro. That's all it is. Where you see all these other teams be bad, and they're like, "Oh man, we're gonna lose our star." Well, yeah, you're gonna lose your star if your team is bad. This is look. If we, like I said, 5 years from now, maybe not even 5, 2-3 years from now, this should look like an outlier season. This is not the norm. This is not the standard. They made 3 straight playoffs before this. Almost 4. They were close. If they didn't fall apart in the bubble. Point being, this is not the norm. They're going to be back. I feel very confident saying that. So like, this was not the norm. So they shouldn't, as long as that's not the norm. They're not going to lose their stars. Not yet. That we're like probably 4 or 5 years removed from that, where they got to worry about it. And even then, I'm not even worried about it. I'm really not. So, yeah, we can put that to bed. You know, those conversations. But I already know somebody's going to bring it up. I can see it now. I can see it now.
I mean,
Somebody
Jersey swap Twitter is always
Jersey swap Twitter. Yes, exactly, correct.
Is always lurking. They're always lurking in there. But yeah, no. But I agree. Like I said, I'm glad that he's going with Mike Miller. I think that's good for him. His agency has been doing good. They've also been doing some like off the court stuff. I know he works with Pat Bev and the Pat Bev podcast, and Sydney Colson and Teresa Plaisance show. I know they do a lot of that kind of stuff. So, you know, we might be able to see, not to say Ja gonna have his own podcast or nothing, but they've been going into that kind of lane too. So
Sorry to cut you off, but Mike Miller has his own podcast with Haslam too. That too.
Exactly. Yeah. So they do a lot of that other stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see him as a guest or something, or they have him. And that's something I'd be looking out for, especially when he's going out to all these AAU tournaments and stuff. Maybe catch a game or two. And those are always cool. I know he's had Jason Williams on there and stuff like that. So another former Grizzly, but I think that's really cool. I'm happy for Mike Miller. Happy that Ja chose that route and everything like that. But I don't know exactly why he switched agents, so I'm not gonna get really into that. But I just think it was a cool kind of. It's just cool that, you know, it's a former Grizzly, a Grizzly I grew up watching, is now representing, you know, the guy who's going to be the best Grizzly ever when it's all said and done.
Yeah, so, and I think he touched on it in media day. Like, they asked him about like why he switched, but he didn't really give an answer, like, because he was past it. So yeah, we'll probably never get the reason, but I mean, again, like we're here now, so, you know, like new beginnings, quote unquote, whatever you want to call it. So, and it's probably like nothing crazy, but, you know, like he probably was over it. So yeah, like, you know, nobody's really gonna remember and be like, oh, why did he switch agents? Like, this will be nobody's gonna remember that in a year from now, like when he said, when he's doing all this, he's winning and he's getting all his marketing stuff together. Like, nobody's gonna remember it, so we'll be fine.
Yeah, for sure. But kind of switching gears from Grizzlies to like more broader basketball news and stuff like that. I want to get to the NBA playoffs, but I got to start with some news that I was surprised about today. If y'all know me, my favorite basketball player ever is Candace Parker. Where man, woman, I don't care. That's my favorite basketball player ever. That was my
real
CP3 basketball player. the real CP3. And seeing, you know, her retirement and everything today from basketball and her resume, championships, MVPs, Rookie of the Year, National Player of the Year, NCAA. She basically did everything that you could do in basketball, whether it was overseas, whether it was in the United States, whether it was in the WNBA, whether it was in college, whether it was for Team USA, where she should have been on Team USA in 2016 too. I'm still
don't get us started.
I started on that. You're right. We're not starting on that.
Focus on the good.
Focusing on the good things. But just and then obviously me being a Tennessee grad, growing up as a big Lady Vols fan, as much as I do love the Grizzlies, my first love was the Tennessee Lady Vols. Before I even knew what the NBA was, I was at Lady Vols games. Right? I didn't even know. You know, I was like,
he's in the orange. Yep.
I was 3-4 years old watching these games. So like that was really like what introduced me to basketball. Watching Candace Parker is really what introduced me to basketball too. So just awesome career. I can't wait to see what she continues to do, like working with TNT and everything. She's, you know, obviously I'm biased, but she's the best analyst they got. So, best one, 100%. I'd rather see her call games. No offense to Reggie Miller, but this man Reggie Miller's on the games talking about if you're up 3, should you miss the free throw on purpose? Like, let's get Candace Parker in there. Come on, man. What are we talking about? That's what I'm saying. So we need to get Candace Parker in there full time, and I hope she can now call WNBA games too. I think the WNBA is in such like a great place right now with this class that's coming in. Me and Alex, both big WNBA fans. We're going to try to incorporate that a lot more over this summer too. Talk about a lot of that kind of stuff as that continues to get going. But I think she's in such an interesting position to where she can kind of watch over that transition a little bit as, somebody who can be on the broadcasting side, but also understands, the struggles of what the WNBA players have been going through and stuff like that.
Yeah. First off, I want to say shout out to Candace. I want to say I was surprised because I think it was right before I went to work when it happened. Because I saw a post, like, I forgot who posted it first, but somebody said something about it. And I went to her Instagram and I saw it and I read the caption. They said, I'm retiring. I said, and it threw me off because I remember she resigned. I remember, if I'm not mistaken, she resigned. So I'm thinking, oh, she finna try to go for one more year already. Like, I'm thinking, okay, cool. But I guess, she had a change of heart or she resigned, like, just in case, you know what I mean? She felt good enough to go. And obviously she didn't. She said, like, her injuries, which is really the big reason why she couldn't do it. Like, her foot's just not responding properly. She has to get into surgery. And that's unfortunate. I hate that because it's like, you could, like, even anybody that watched her play last year, like, you knew she could still play. Like, she wasn't scoring the same as she was last 2 years. But I mean, she was on the Aces. Like, they got Asia Wilson, Chelsea Gray, like Kelsey Plum, like Jackie. Like, she don't need to score. She basically like Draymond for them. And she was great in that role. And then her foot broke or whatever. It was already hurt. And then that was the end of it. So you hate to see it. And I mean, obviously, like, she still won a championship. Obviously, they won last year. She didn't play. But, like, so I'm glad that happened. But like you said, yeah, she's one of the most influential players of all time, like, especially for the women's game, like, just basketball in general. But, like, a lot of players, like, in the W now will say that's their goal. Because I know a while ago, they had that whole little top 25 list or whatever they did a couple years ago when it's the 25th anniversary or whatever, 20th anniversary, I forgot. And they were like, I remember, like, they had the GOAT thing where they was talking about, like, where they had the list and they gave, like, Diana Taurasi to go. No disrespect to Diana Taurasi, but, like, personally, me, I'm gonna put Candace Parker over Diana Taurasi. Like, that just rubbed me the wrong way a little bit when they had that whole little thing going on. I'm like, felt like she got discredited, and, like, a lot of people gonna say she's the GOAT. Like, of course, some of her accolades might not be up to par, but, like, the influence is there. Like, she is one of the. I'm gonna just say this now. I forgot. I don't think you mentioned it. She literally won MVP and Rookie of the Year in the same season, and people don't understand. They just saw it with Caitlin Clark. Where, yeah, it's no joke because literally they go from playing in the national championship game or the tournament 2-3 weeks later, you're in training camp or it's like drafting training camp. They don't got no break. So in that same year where she was probably, I forgot where they finished in Tennessee that year. You might be more inclined to know than me.
Oh, I know. No, she was National Player of the Year, won the national championship, went to get drafted, then won Rookie of the Year and MVP. So
in the same, and that's like on a 5-6 month span. At like 22, 23. Like, think about that. She one of the only people to do that. And then not only to do that, she wins the championship with the Aces. Or not Aces. She wins the championship with Sparks. Then goes to Chicago, goes home, wins another championship. And both of those teams, she was an integral part. Now, the third one, okay, whatever. People can debate it, whatever, cool. But the first two, man, come on now.
And this is why I will say, because obviously on the third one, the Aces, they're a super team, and I get it. But I will say, if you watch the way they played with her, they were still just at a different level too. Like, they won the championship. If Candace had been playing, they might have swept the championship because they had injury stuff too. Like,
literally,
they had injuries and all kinds of stuff to where they were playing, two women that hadn't played like the whole season basically. Sydney Colson doesn't play, and she was playing game 4. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And they were playing in game 4 of the finals, right? So with all those injuries and stuff, I think if Candace had been playing, it would have been a little bit different. But I mean, even just having somebody of that level, like we see that in the NBA, of like the Pacers still have James Johnson on the bench. Obviously, James Johnson isn't Candace Parker, but it's somebody who's been there before, right?
Yeah,
somebody who's been in all the situations, a vet who knows like what's going on, and just having her, I think, on the bench to talk to somebody like Asia in those situations. Like, hey, I've been in these situations for the past 16 years, right?
Yeah.
So I've been in every situation. I know what you're going through. I know what it's like to be the best player on the team in the finals and doing all that. So I think that role was good for her. That's why I was a little surprised that it was this year. I knew she had said she didn't want to cheat the game, and that if she didn't feel like she was 100%, she wasn't going to play. So I hate that it was really the injury part because I was hoping she would be able to get, maybe one more year just because I do think the Aces have a really good chance to three-peat too. So I was like, that's what I'm saying.
We'll talk about that later. Yeah, I don't want to talk about that. They some of these teams let them cheat. I ain't gonna say that. I ain't gonna say no names, but they letting the teams just get players for cheap, rookies that might be good. When come on, man. I don't even want to talk about it. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. That's true because they had a good draft too. They had a really good draft.
Ace is cheap, man. Yeah, Ace is cheap. That's all.
But I'm really excited to see what she does with the rest of basketball. She said in her post she wants to own a WNBA and an NBA team one day, more stuff with TNT. So even though it's one of those things where Candace Parker is retiring, but we might actually see more Candace Parker now that she's retired. It's just not going to be playing basketball. We're going to get to hear more about her. We're going to have all of that kind of stuff. So, but I just had to make sure we got that into the show because.
Oh, listen, yeah, I know you were. I know you gonna get in the show. Listen,
hey,
I was sad when he saw that.
Oh yeah,
you were sad like a bunch of other people. Because my fault to cut you off, but like it was so funny. I saw it on Twitter. Some people I know, they're like, I couldn't believe it. They're like, they said they fell to their knees. A lot of heartbroken emojis. I was weak, bro. I'm sorry, I had to laugh at that. I was like, man, they couldn't believe it. Everybody was distraught. Not everybody, but most people. They was like, man, really? Because like you said, some people, this is their favorite player. Like men, women, like this is their favorite player. So I get it, and it threw them for a loop. But like you knew it was coming. But in the way she did it, like during the game, like it was during the NBA game on Instagram, she didn't give no farewell tour. She didn't do none of that. She just like, okay, I'm retiring. Like, I get it. Like it's sudden. So I understand. I get it. I understand, man. But again, like you said, like we still gonna see her. It's not like, she's gone forever. You know what I mean? She's gonna be here just in a different way. So that's all.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. And then, to move on, I had to put that out there first. Just because I said, that's my favorite player. There will probably be no Next Gen podcast if I never grew up watching Candace Parker, like, honestly. So that's really, like, one of the reasons I fell in love with basketball. And one of the reasons that I've also been loving basketball these last couple of weeks is because of the NBA playoffs. And I've been talking about it, is that as much as I do wish the Grizzlies were there, it is kind of nice to just kind of sit back and then just enjoy the games. There's, because me personally, obviously, you want the Grizzlies to win. You want them to win. You have your teams you like. And, I still have players I like. Like, I still want Mike Conley to do well for the Timberwolves. I'm always going to be cheering for him to do well and stuff like that. But it's not the same. You know what I mean? So it's good that I can just sit back and watch some incredible games like that Mavericks-Clippers game that I watched today where James Harden and Kyrie Irving were going back and forth down the stretch, Luka making clutch threes, like all of that. And it was just like that, like this peak basketball entertainment. So I've been enjoying these playoffs so far. I had picks. I know that we both had picks going into this that we sent each other, which we haven't got to talk about them on the show. So the picks I made for the first round, at least, I picked Boston, New York, Indiana, Cleveland, and then in the West, I had the Thunder, the Nuggets, the Timberwolves, and the Mavericks. That's what I went with. The ones that I had the most trouble with was definitely Mavs Clippers. I think that was the one that I went back and forth on a little bit. I eventually went with the Mavs, mostly just because of that Luka Kyrie duo and the fact that now you can sit Luka and you still have Kyrie Irving running your offense. And when he gets on a heater like he did today, like, I know he has all this controversy, but if you just look at this man on the basketball court, put all that other stuff aside, man. He's still one of the most talented players I've ever seen. That layup that he made today over 4 people, like, he's incredible. And then adding him with somebody like Luka, I just think that's really insane.
Yeah, no, bro. Listen. Playoffs have been what I expected. I can't remember all my picks right now. Sorry, I was looking up if anybody's watching the thing because we still have the game. I think it's Minnesota and Phoenix. Yeah, still going on. And literally, I was watching while Chris Finch got hurt. Literally, like the coach got hurt somehow, some way. I think somebody ran into him, so then they had to take him off the floor. So because Minnesota's up 4 right now with like a minute 40. So like obviously we already know who's gonna win that series. I mean they're up 3-0. There's no reason like we already kind of know. I mean I think like you said the most I want to say the toss up series for me was like the Clippers Mavs and like the Knicks and the Sixers just because I'm like
Yeah.
it's all health dependent. Like Clippers and Mavs, I thought if Kawhi was healthy, the Clippers will win. If not, Mavs will win. But it seems like the Clippers are better without Kawhi since he's been hurt, not been himself. And so like it's like that threw me off. I think in Timberwolves Suns, I had Suns. Suns have embarrassed me, but I shouldn't believe too much. It's okay. I get, but again, I give Minnesota credit. I slept on them a little bit. Thought the offense gonna struggle a little bit. Obviously in the Eastern Conference, I mean, I thought at least Heat gonna win that series. Bucks Pacers, I thought Pacers were gonna win that ever since Giannis went down, and now they're at 3-1. So I mean, I would expect Indy to get the job done in the next 2 games. Obviously, the Knicks are up 3-1. But again, with that one, I won't say the Knicks could blow a 3-1 lead, but it's like it's up in the air. We've seen it happen before. I doubt it. I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it, but I don't think they're gonna do it. I think the Knicks will get it done. I think the Knicks will get it done.
I think so, and I think my main thing is that it's just Joel Embiid is not 100%, and the scoring is still there. But the thing that I've noticed is he can't jump. Like the rim protection, the defensive stuff that we've seen from him, of where he is, like Joel Embiid at his best is like an All NBA defender as well on defense, no question about it. Yeah. He can't be that right now because he's playing on one leg. And I think even like down the stretch of that game, there is a play where Jalen Brunson gets to the rim and kind of faked Embiid out a little bit. Jalen Brunson is 6'1", Joel Embiid 7 foot.
Yeah, me and Brunson the same height.
That's what I'm saying. And then Jalen Brunson shot a floater. Joel jumped, and it looked like he got like an inch off the ground. And it's just like he just doesn't have it right now. And I don't think he's going. I don't think the knee's going to get better, right?
Yeah.
He's not having time off. The Knicks are the hardest playing team in the dang NBA. Like the
Tibbs.
Knicks, yeah,
Tibbs
like dude. The Knicks, watching the Knicks play, it's like controlled chaos the whole game. I've never seen a team get so many offensive rebounds, and it's like Dante DiVincenzo. It's like Dante DiVincenzo's out here. Like OG Anunoby, I think had 15 rebounds. Like
Josh Hart had 15 a night or something like that.
Yeah, Josh Hart. It's not like Steven Adams is out there getting 50. It's like not guys, obviously guys that are hustle guys, but not guys you would expect to get 15 rebounds. Kind of like Aaron Gordon having 29 and 15 in that Lakers series. I'm like, Aaron Gordon just had an Anthony Davis stat line, right? And it's like, I think those are the performances in the playoffs that kind of set you apart. And you got to have role players that can do that, if something does happen. You know what I mean? They can step up, whether that's rebounding, whether that's scoring more, which I think we've seen that across the league so far, whether it's Jaden McDaniels for the Timberwolves, who he's had some big games. DiVincenzo and Hart for the Knicks have had some big games. Like I just said, Aaron Gordon for the Nuggets, which even though he's a really good player, but he's not 29 and 15. You know what I mean? That's not what you're getting from him on a nightly basis. And then anybody that plays for
had a game. Yeah, Lou Dort had a game.
Lou Dort did have a game. No, and the reason I say everybody that plays for the Heat is because I don't know what Pat Riley did, but somehow, some way, Pat Riley gets every single dude that you've never heard of into an NBA starting caliber player in like 2 seasons. Like we got Haywood Highsmith playing playoff minutes and being effective. Well, shout out to him too, but it's just like not what you would expect. But I just think they're overmatched in that series anyway. But the first round, it's been good. I mean, I think it's had its highs and lows. There's been a couple games where it's been blowouts and everything, but that's how it is going to be in the first round, regardless of what sport it is. But I'm excited for this year. I think that it's a good thing that we are starting to see some of the old guard. Steph isn't in it. Looks like the Suns are probably about to get swept as we're recording this.
Yeah, 30 seconds left, and Minnesota's up.
Yeah, Suns about to get swept, right?
Yeah,
so
Suns gonna go
no KD.
They're already home, but they're gonna go home.
We're
go to Cancun. Yeah, they're gonna go to Cancun. They're already home.
So I think it's going to be good because this is the time for the young players. Obviously, you still have Jokic and Tatum, which I mean, Jokic is like 30 in his prime. Giannis is hurt. If Giannis was there, he's in his prime. But it's like you're gonna have there's none of the dudes that you would say are on the back half of their careers are still gonna be in it, right? You know, Jokic is in his prime. You know, he's not a young player anymore. And I would even say Tatum. I don't necessarily see Tatum as a young player anymore. He's been in the NBA for like 8 years, right? It's like he's a vet.
True.
But
Jaren in there, we put Jaren there next because he's going to be
I know.
7,
yeah,
7, 8 or something like that. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is where you're getting to the point where it's like you're not just the young player no more. Like you are a veteran, and that's why I just think it's good for somebody like that. Whether it is the Celtics, whether it's the Nuggets again, whether it's a young team, you know, whether it's the Timberwolves making a deep run, whether it's the Thunder, whether it's Luka and Kyrie together. Like I just think it is good for the NBA to kind of start the transition. Not to say I don't love watching KD and love watching LeBron and Steph and all those guys. Obviously, they're like that era is always going. It was a great run for that era, right? And I still think, and they're still awesome, but it's just like you're starting to see the signs of it's starting to turn over a little bit, and the younger guys are kind of starting to be there. And I'm hoping that next year, as we're having this conversation, the Grizzlies will be a part of that conversation too, of being one of the young teams that's starting to be like they're going to be one of the teams of this new era of basketball that we're kind of seeing come in right now.
Shoot, we was the first team. If I'm gonna stand on that, we was the team before OKC. I mean, OKC's the youngest in 1 seed, but we was the team won 56 games. Youngest before that. Before them, it was us. We was the standard. Like, no, everybody talking about like again. That's why I watch these playoffs and I'm like, bruh, we gonna remind people. Same with Ja. Like you still talking about role players and everybody. Like, I feel like we're just a couple role players away because, like, you know, like again, like these teams are not. I mean, fully healthy. Obviously, we got to get healthy, but like, yeah, man, like these playoffs have been a lot. Like it's been good, like you said. Like for me, I will say the surprise for me, honestly, a little bit just off the simple fact, like the surprise for me is like you think there's a little bit more competitive series in the Western Conference. Like the way before you would think everybody's talking about the West that they would have the more competitive series, but it seems like the East has more of the competitive series. I think the Magic and Cavs have been very competitive, even though people love to say that that series gonna go on Tubi or you know, like they like to make the jokes like nobody watches the series, but that series actually has been good. I've watched it. I watched most of it. Obviously the Knicks and Sixers have been good, even though it's 3-1. You know, I feel like a lot of those series have been really good. I mean, obviously you're gonna have 2 sweeps in the West, or not 2 sweeps, or 1 sweep. No, you might have 2 sweeps because Thunder played tomorrow. But either way, he had a lot of like the only series that's close is literally Clippers Mavs. That's it. Every other series is like I said, like Minnesota for win tonight. But yeah, I mean, again, like in terms of the new players and old players, I said it a couple of days ago because who was it? My boy? Shout out to John Rivers. He said on Twitter, I think he said KD, Steph, and Bron are done contending. And I had the picture where it's like the future is now old man. Like I love to say that, and I really stand on that because again, I love LeBron James, one of my all time favorite players. Love Kevin Durant, love Steph Curry, love all of them. I remember growing up on this player. But I am here for the new age of basketball. Like I've been said this. I've been said this is a new difference. Like parity, all that new stuff that's here is here. Like people need to understand that. Obviously, like you said, you got Jokic in his prime, you got Tatum entering his prime. But like again, like you said, none of these guys are in the back half of their careers. Like all these guys are new. And again, next year you're gonna see the same thing. Like I expect Thunder to be in the next year. I expect us to be in that conversation next year. Like a lot of these teams, like Timberwolves, like a lot of these teams that have younger players, younger stars, you're gonna see them around for a long time. Like this is now, I'm like, I want to say it's their league, but it sort of is. Like it's becoming their league. Obviously, we're seeing it. Like shoot, even I know obviously the Bucks have been hurt. Basically, the Pacers are playing a hospital team, but like, you know, Halliburton is another young star. In the Cavs Magic series, Paolo's another young star. Obviously, Brunson's not a young star, but like, you know, and for the Sixers, obviously Max is on that team. So, like, you got a lot of these series. You got a lot of these younger guys in their first playoffs playing well or really having playoff-defining moments that we were talking about with Ja earlier that he's already had. And again, still, Ja, again, I'm going to say again, Ja's the standard. You don't know too many players that have had a 40 ball in every postseason. He's literally had a 40 ball in every postseason. Like that's kind of crazy. Like I don't think people understand how crazy it is. And he did all this under the age of 23 because he didn't have an age 24 playoffs. So he did this all while he was like 19 to 23. Anywho, I'm not gonna talk about John. Look, they'll know about John next year. But the point is, you're having all these guys build their resumes and their legacies up, and in 4 or 5 years, we're gonna have probably some crazy epic matchups. We might in the next round here. Obviously, I mean, again, I'm already projecting because listen, this is not set in stone, but I mean, Timberwolves up 7 right now, 121. 7 or 6. Either way, they're finna win. They're gonna play the Nuggets. We already know this. I listen. If y'all want to come back to me if somehow these teams make history, be my guest. But I don't think they are. So you got that matchup probably coming up. Then obviously, I'm assuming Celtics win. I'm assuming. I don't know what I can do with the Cavs, the Cavaliers and the Magic. But
that can go either way. That can definitely
go either way. Yeah.
Yeah.
But really, like Pacers, Knicks, like I can see that. I'm assuming that's probably what it's gonna be. You can see like that's gonna be a good series. But really, that Nuggets and Timberwolves series is gonna be probably the premier series for now. Obviously, until we know who Clippers Mavs is. But like Timberwolves Nuggets is definitely gonna be a series because people are higher on the Timberwolves in terms of what they've done in the first round. Me personally, I am a little bit higher on them now, but I still think you got to beat the Nuggets. Like Nuggets are like the Spurs. You're not going to beat themselves. Yeah. You got to execute for 48 minutes on both ends to beat them. So it's hard for me to see even though Minnesota made a leap, it's just different levels. Like different levels.
Well,
they might be wrong, but yeah, go ahead.
You can say it like this, right? Obviously, the Timberwolves playing the way they have in the first round. Like I see that, and that I think they have I obviously think they have a chance. I don't think they're it's not impossible. Nuggets are not unbeatable, right? But when you have literally seen the Nuggets, I mean that series they had with them last year was competitive. I think it went to 6 games, right? And I think the Timberwolves are better this year. The Nuggets, I still think they're really good. I think they're a little bit worse than they were last year, just because they don't have the Bruce Brown, the guy who's been there before. They're starting some younger guys or playing some younger guys in those roles with like Peyton Watson, Christian Braun, and stuff like that. They haven't really been there as much, but they've done what they needed to do. They still have the best player in the world. They still have Michael Porter Jr., who has never seen a shot that he doesn't like in his entire career. He's never seen a shot it's impossible to contest a shot, man. So they still have him. So I just feel like that experience, that championship DNA, and kind of what we've seen in the Lakers series up until I know they lost game 4, but in game 3 of we're down 20, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like we've done this before. We've done this, 100 times. Yeah. We did this last season to go to the finals. We've already done everything that you need to do. So
yeah, look, and they have now again. It's the Lakers, but they also haven't shot the ball well. My boy Maples. He made a point to me. I think the Nuggets are shooting 26% from 3 in this series. Like they're shooting a low percentage of threes in the series, and he's still winning these games. So imagine they start making shots. Oh, and again, like you said, they got a little bit worse offensively. I think in terms of bench scoring, but I think what they lost in bench scoring, the young guys they got off the bench now have helped their defense because their defense improved from last year. So while they lost a little bit of scoring, their defense has probably improved because of those lineups. But again, when you have the best, at least in my opinion, when you have the best starting 5 in basketball, probably in my opinion, in terms of synergy and stuff. And update, Minnesota just swept Phoenix. So obviously we already know who's going to that one. But either way, when you have that type of starting 5, you really don't. I don't want to say you worry about your bench, but okay, you can kind of have guys that play spot minutes. Like that starting 5 is legitimately one of it. Because again, it's not about all the talent. That's why I say people keep talking about talent. Is people forget about the fit part of everything and how guys fit together, and they fit together seamlessly. So again, you're gonna have to beat that team to beat them. So we'll see if Minnesota's ready for it. Obviously going forward, but that's going to be a really good series because again, I think Lakers going home tomorrow. Listen, prove me wrong, cool, but listen, I think they're going to Cancun tomorrow. Listen, tomorrow the last game, Bron gonna hit them with the I'm gonna see how I look. I might come back next year, I might not, like he did last year. He gonna be back next year. We already know what's gonna happen. But listen, they're gonna lose, so or at least I'm assuming they're gonna lose. So Lakers, all my Lakers fans, y'all listen to this, no disrespect, just we know what time it is. But yeah, I'm excited to see the second rounds, obviously, but I don't want to. It's not there yet. We still have some really good series, but this playoff is going to be good. I really feel good about the second round. I know people.
No, I'm excited. I'm excited. Like,
yeah.
So far, it's been good. I think it's going to keep getting better.
Yeah, I think the second round will show out. I think I really don't have no doubts about the second round for the most part. I know people like to talk about the blowouts, but like it's part of the game. Like we have blowouts every year. Like it's not like it's like
for sure.
Because our last point, because some people are trying to say we should change the format back to 5 games. No, they should not do that. Why would they do that? Like literally, we literally just saw a 2 seed and a 1 seed and a 3 seed lose last year in the first round. Why would they do that? Y'all just keep forgetting. Again, we live so much in the current era. Y'all keep forgetting what just happened last year. Like, no, there's no reason to do that. Like, it's fine. You're going to have to blow out some years. It happens. That's not going to be every game. So, people just overreacting. But, yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But as always, I just want to say thank you to everybody who listened to this episode. We went long this one. Going into the playoffs, we might have some long conversations to get to these next couple of weeks, too. So, might have to be ready for that. But thank you to everybody who listened to this week's episode of the Next Gen Podcast here on the Bluff City Media Podcast Network. As always, I'm your host, Bryson Wright, and I was joined by my co-host, Alex Winton, and we will see y'all on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Next Gen Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a like and a comment wherever you download your podcasts. Head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co, where you will find comprehensive coverage of all things Memphis sports and how you can become an insider. We'll see you back here next time.